Hey, so today I am about to paint. And for people that know me, this would seem like not such a big deal. Ever since I was little, I've always kind of been known as like the creative, artsy one. And that's very true. And I do consider myself someone very creative. I have a resistance still to calling myself an artist, I guess, because I don't hang things in galleries or museums or sell my work or anything like that. It's always very much just been sort of a process thing for me. And at the same time, there's a part of me that would love to sell what I do. I just haven't mustered the courage to take that leap yet. But there's this idea out there that it seems, because I used to teach adults painting, and I might step into that again soon, and not necessarily like a method to painting or how to paint or how to, I don't paint, like teach the skills so that people can get it to look like it does in their head. And quite frankly, because they don't really know them. Like, I went to art school for a few years and I quit and decided to study something else because there was a place where like I got really frustrated with the rules and with the techniques. And I found them very limiting, but really what I was afraid of was like I didn't really want to practice. Like, I didn't want to practice the tools that it would take so that I would have the skills that I needed to, get what was in my head on paper. And so instead, I just kind of just like, whatever, I just want to do whatever I want and have no rules, no techniques that I'm trying to master and get really perfect. And that's beautiful in one respect, and at the same time, like, it's limited me later. But I wanted to make this, share this video because I actually haven't painted in a long time. Like I said, I used to have an expressive painting studio, and in some way, creativity has always been a part of my life. As much I notice if it's not in my life daily, like something starts to feel off, and then it takes some extra work to sort of get back into the groove of things. And so it's probably been, like, to be honest, before like I was in front of a white piece of paper. Like, I do little creative projects all the time, but actually saying like, oh, I'm gonna paint, and I'm gonna paint just for the hell of painting, it's been over a year, maybe even over 2. And I'm like, I've been stalling. There's a place where I'm actually fairly terrified. And so I thought it was important to share that, because when I was teaching painting to adults, or even just talking to people in general, there's kind of 2 camps. There's the camp of like, yes, I'm creative, I'm artistic, and there's a confidence there. And then there's the people that say, oh, I don't have an artistic bone in my body, and you can just kind of see where they sort of close off and cower away, or like almost, I don't know if it's how they're feeling, but there's like a little bit of like an embarrassment or a shyness around it, it seems. And one of the common things that I hear is that, oh, I'm not creative, and partly being like this stall, being like this idea that it's hard, and that creative or artistic people, like, it just flows out of them, and yeah, like almost like I can give myself that label if it's easy, right? Like, I can call myself a yogi if I can easily do the flow, or I can call myself a basketball player if I can, shoot some dunks, or like this idea that if we do it well, then we're it, and we've like earned the title of that name. And I was talking to a friend of mine who is an artist, and that's like what he does for a living. And he sort of hit me with something in that he said, like, the only reason I can call myself an artist is because I practice it every day. And it had me think about how much I don't practice something that I actually absolutely love. So there's also this place where, I wanted to debunk that myth that creativity is easy for those that have been labeled creative. Because facing a white piece of paper for me is terrifying. And the other side of that coin is like complete thrill and excitement. And I think, like, I've been painting, like this past weekend I stalled by painting my living room or my hallway and my bathroom. It was like this thing that I suddenly needed to do, and I spent 3 days painting. So clearly I wanted paint in my hands, but there was something safe around it just being the hallway in my bathroom. Like, there were boundaries. There was like, I knew what it was gonna look like. I had the edges there. There wasn't anything that was gonna like pop out and surprise me. It was like one color going on the walls, up, down, sideways, until it was covered. And so I got to have sort of that feel of it, but I wasn't really having to do that space. So right now, like, I don't know what's gonna happen. And I don't even know what I'm saying right now. Like, there was just a place where I have this passion where, like, I want people to know that they're creative. And I want that for the people that already know they are, but I want that also for the people that just don't think it's possible for them. And so I wanted to show that right now I'm stalling from doing this thing because I don't know what's going to happen. And I'm afraid that all the thoughts that I have in my head, or images that I have in my head, I don't know how to paint them. And like, I don't know how it's gonna turn out. And like, that's such a life thing, right? Like, having all these visions for ourselves and then not really knowing how it's gonna pan out, or like wanting to control it to make sure it happens that way. And one of the things I've learned about just the sort of expressive painting style that I do, I'll say like the primal painting style that I do, is that it's really not in my hands so much. Like, all I have to do is kind of show up to the paper and be willing to listen, and then be willing to follow that guidance. And I have no idea where that will take me. And from the past, I know it takes me to like some really cool highs, and where I just like absolutely love what is on the paper. I love how it looks. I love how it feels to dot the paper with paint, or smear it across, or watch it sparkle with glitter, like whatever it is. And then sometimes I hate it. and I just think it's ugly and I want to give up and quit. So like a white piece of paper to me is kind of like one of those doorways, knowing that I'm going to have feelings and I don't necessarily get to pick which ones those are. I just kind of get to face them when they happen. And that's scary. So, yes, like I have a creative spirit in me, and I have some skill and experience on some level, you know, to move paint around the paper. But doesn't make it easy. And Bella's here with me. She has things to say about it too. Yeah, it doesn't make it easy. And things like this happen where you just start crying. And somebody, like a friend, a special friend, she knows who she is. She'll probably watch this. She once told me recently that the reason we get nervous is because our heart's in it. And I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of times, like, we shy away from the creativity that we have in us, because it's impossible not to have your heart in it. Yeah. So I'm gonna paint, and I told myself today that I would paint for at least 30 minutes. And I have an idea that seems so silly. I'm going to paint either my pancreas or an ovary. And there's a story behind that. It's totally random. I don't know how to paint those things. I don't even know, well, I wouldn't say I don't know where they are, but I don't know how to freaking paint those. But it's kind of going along with this idea that I feel like a way to communicate with my body is through painting different parts of it, and just sort of like being in a dialogue with them, and sort of letting them choose the colors, letting my body choose the colors, and kind of how things move. So that's all I'm starting with, and we'll see what happens after 30 minutes. It might look like a pancreas, it might look like a total turd. I have no idea. And it might morph into something totally different, but that's my starting point. That's sort of the first step.